When lighting is done well, the audience might not even notice. But a poorly lit production can take the audience out of the immersion. How do you go about lighting a stage well?
When I'm asked to do lighting design for a show, I start by getting a lot of the upfront information, the timeline for production, where they're at with the show's rehearsals. What is the space like? What are the limitations or capabilities of the space? I've worked in places where they didn't have lighting boards that could program. It was all manual, right? So then you have to work with a technician or someone who's going to do it for the shows.
The process really starts when you get your first copy of the script. You want to read through it several times. The first time you want to just get a feel for the idea of what the show is about.
Especially if you're not already familiar with the show. Reading through it, meeting with the director is usually big, or the design production team overall to see their concept, their design ideas, what they're actually doing on stage, and how they're bringing the script to life, so you know their priorities too. They often say, this is the 3 or 5 or 10 main things I need to accomplish with light. If you can make those happen, then the rest can just be practical or face light. That'll work, And sometimes it's the complete opposite where they say, I just need this, and the rest is your creative freedom. Those are great people when they just let you run with it. But usually it's somewhere in the middle.
So right now we're really in the creative planning part of the process as far as the lighting design goes. That includes planning which angles the lights are coming from, which parts we want lit up at which points. And then after that goes into the part where we are hanging the different fixtures and deciding, oh, we want this light fixture in this spot to be able to hit this angle for this scene. So after we've hung and focused everything in a way that makes it easier to work with, then we get to do the fun part of actually creating the cues themselves. Going through the script systematically and creating specific instances where the lights change from moment to moment within the script. This could be simple lights up, lights down kind of cues, or it could be mood shifts depending on what's happening in the scene. I especially find this stage super fun because you get to get really creative and really use the light to sculpt the actors and create the specific look that you want to best communicate the emotions of that moment in the script.
I like to think of lighting design as painting the stage. And I think when I say it, people suddenly have this moment of, oh, okay, that makes sense. It can be like a blank canvas if you look at it, right? And you're painting it.
From my experience, it really is a balance of managing the technical side, because what is lighting other than a technical field? There's control software and there's 80 different lights in the air that are doing different things. How do you best use the technology that you have available and the setup that you have available to creatively express what you're trying to create?
In order to get the specific looks that we want for the show, we have several different kinds of lights that we can use. We have the traditional incandescent lights, and then we also have the newer LED lights. Those are really fun because they can change color. And then we also have a couple different moving lights, and those are especially handy because you can move the unit itself to hit different spots on the stage, change the texture on the go, and all of that super fun stuff. For the conventional lights, we have several different methods that we use to change up the look of the light on the stage. To change the color, we have different kinds of plastic gels. The gels are essentially a thin piece of plastic that's tinted a different color, and then we can put that in front of the bulb to change the light that's coming out. For the Gobos, we have a bunch of different kinds as well. They can be super generic, like just generic breakups, so it's different size splotches all over the stage, or it can be like a specific image as it's dictated in the plot, or it can be something in between, like cutouts of leaf patterns or stars. So within the project, the lighting designer has a lot of different sets of lights or systems to work with. One, for example, is the cyc, which is essentially a big white sheet across the back of the stage. You can light it from the top or from the bottom. We have some different LED lights hitting it, so that way you get to play with the different colors and see how they interact on the white backdrop. You also have the front light, which lights up the faces of the actors. You usually want a couple different angles of face light, as well as possibly some light from the side to help make sure the actors are well defined, some light from the back to make them pop from the background, as well as some light from the top.
The other thing too, and it's much like sound and it's much like a lot of other systems, is that lighting is very much a team sport. No one system of light, no set of lights is good enough on its own. It needs the support of the entire system, of the entire rig, and so kind of taking that global look at it and, okay, so how does my top light can reinforce what I'm doing for face light, what I'm trying to do with special effects and all that stuff, and using everything together as a same team to sort of unify it.
Because of where our particular show takes place, there's some parts in the script that talk about the northern lights. So I've done some different experimenting with like effects projectors and some of the moving lights and try to see how we could make some fun northern lights effects.
It's really magical to see the light on everyone's faces, or their faces light up literally, when you start adding lights to production and suddenly they just kind of like come into their own. They're like, oh, it's actually a show now. Someone said that this week to me. They're like, Oh, the lights, they actually make it feel like a production.
It's a pretty cool feeling. It's way different than when you're practicing under work lights. When you're practicing under kind of dynamic lighting and it's purposeful lighting, there's a feeling of coming alive as a character. For me, it's a big mental thing. Of course, it's cool to be under the cool lighting and look cool, but for me, it's the lighting that sets apart kind of just an everyday practice to like an actual, this is the moment. It's also kind of a professional shift. When those lights are on, it's just a more professional attitude. You're there to get your things done, to be an actor, to be timely, to be your character. It's very different under the lights.